I want to talk about chasing relationships. And really, I want to talk about like the very beginning of the first relationship that was being chased after. And that really has to do with God creating humanity. And so when we go back into Genesis, it's this wonderful story about how God decides to make a creation that's actually designed after his very image. And then what he does is he breathes the breath of life, the breath that he has, he breathes it into this image that's called humanity. And so in that, we become in the likeness of who God really is. And so it's this wonderful story about man imaging, mirroring this relationship that we have with God here on earth. And so Adam's is his name, and so he's able to like take care of the garden, and he's able to name the animals, all these wonderful things where Adam is kind of in charge, or the Bible says it's like a custodian. That's the word that's used, is to have dominion, which is more of kingship, but it's also a custodianship. So Adam's responsibility is he's in charge of making sure that everything operates the way that it's supposed to. And so the Bible says that in Genesis 3 that God would come in the cool of the evening and be with Adam and Eve, and he would talk with them, and he would fellowship with them, and he would engage in the relationship that he had with them each and every day. And it's really important to understand that, because it's still the same God that we serve today. And yet, even in the violation of that relationship, when Adam and Eve decided to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of evil, which what that really did was it gave them the ability to self-govern themselves. They would have the ability to know the difference between right and wrong, and in so much that when God would come, he came into the cool of the evening, and he would say, he called out, Adam and Eve, where are you? And then they finally said, we're hidden because we're naked. And he said, who told you that you were naked? And it was in that moment in time he realized that they ate the tree that he told them not to. And again, in that place is that they would then have self-reliance, or they could self-govern themselves. And so it's interesting, because when God created man, or created humanity, he became vulnerable to humanity. And the reason why I say that is because at the very beginning, he gave man the ability to choose, the freedom of will, the freedom of choice. And so God's creating humanity, not knowing whether humanity will serve him or reject him. And so God's becoming vulnerable to his creation by giving them the ability to have a free choice. It's a really important piece. And yet he's constantly chasing after humanity. And we know that we can look at scriptures that give us this outline of all these events that have actually taken place, that shows us that God's always chasing after humanity, even when we mess up. And that's a great thing to understand, because what it tells us, though, is that we're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. And it doesn't change the fact that he's still chasing after us. And that's the beautiful story about Christ. That's the beautiful story about God. And so when Adam and Eve violated the relationship, it was the first time that a sacrifice took place. Was actually still in the garden, and it was done by God, because the Bible says is that he made them tunics, and tunics is made out of animal skin to cover them. And so he's chasing after him. He's wanting to have the relationship in the cool of the evening. Sin is brought in. Separation has taken place. He brings a sacrifice so that man and God could still be in somewhat of a relationship. And then we know that there was a sacrifice of animals until the final sacrifice, the one true sacrifice, which his name is Jesus Christ, or Yeshua. He came and he put himself on a tree, and he gave himself for all of humanity. Not so that the sin could be pushed to another year, but full reconciliation could take place.